Welcome everybody to the tutorial online for topic 1. It's fantastic to have you all joining, and I know some of you are doing this via the self-study method. So welcome, and I hope you enjoy interacting from your own computers, even if this isn't happening live. When I'm saying let's try this little activity, then of course I'd love you to join in. So far for topic 1, you will have read the handout, watched the video, and had a go at the worksheet. So here's our topic 1 booklet. This is what we're going to be going through today in our tutorial. If I just skim through, we've got page 1, which is actually a copy of the topic 1 handout, so that we've got all the information in the one place. We've got page 2, where we're going to learn about characteristics of consonants. We've got page 3, where we're going to learn more about characteristics of consonants. It's a diagram that we'll go through to look at the position of sounds. Page 5 is actually an activity sheet. So if you've got the activity pages printed, this is where you will pick up your activity booklet or activity pages, and you'll fill in those little squares, but we'll do that all together. Page 6 is just like a nice little poster. You might even want to put this up somewhere. And this is just showing the characteristics of phonemes by using colours and shapes and abbreviations. Page 7 is showing those characteristics in a table form, so we can have a look at where we've got phonemes at the front of the mouth, and then as they work their way to the back of the mouth, and to see where different types of phonemes are clustered. We'll have a look through that. Then there's an activity which we'll do together. So that's the topic 1 booklet. If you have got a printed copy nearby, feel free to have that so you can look at that printed copy, but otherwise you can view it on my screen. So let's look at part 1, and this was covered in the video, wasn't it? I wonder if you've always thought of English as just having 26 sounds. You probably knew there were 26 letters, but did you think that meant there were 26 sounds? Or did you know that actually there were more sounds than that? And had you thought about the fact that the written letters are kind of like a letter name? So F has its name, F. That's what we call it. But actually, when we say F, F, we're saying 2 sounds, an E and a F. And if we want to talk about the sound that F makes, then it usually makes F. So it's just looking at that difference now, isn't it, between written letters and the sounds that our mouth makes. So at number 2, how do we make speech sounds? With our tongue, our teeth, and our lips. Those are our 3 articulators. And with the vocal folds in the larynx. And if we look at the picture there, I think you should be able to see that okay. I'm just circling around the nasal passage. So the space there where the air flows, and the oral passage, the space that we make when we open our mouth, where the air flows out. We've got the lips, the teeth, and we're just seeing a side version of it, which is a bit strange, isn't it? It's like we've sliced down the middle. And the tongue, which is actually a big muscle. And these are all the muscle fibers being represented. And right down here, this little line represents the larynx, where the vocal folds are. So I'll stop that share. Can you get your fingers and put them together like this? And can you make them come in and out? And now sort of make them a bit like a V. And can you make them sort of come in and out like a wave action? That's how our vocal folds vibrate and make the sound. And we can think of V, or V for voicing. So when those vocal folds are vibrating, there's our voice. Do you want to just try that? You should be able to feel it. Feel Feel that vibration? Whereas if we make an F sound, there's no vibration because it's voiceless. So we put like a 0 for no sound. So V for voice, and 0 for no voice or no sound. No sound from the larynx. Number 3 is, what do we call those speech sounds? Do you remember? Phonemes. I wonder if you thought that was a bit of a strange word. A lot of people aren't even sure how to pronounce that. Phonemes. But can you think of other words that have phone? Like telephone. Or what else has phone? Microphone. Or a symphony. So think about the fact that phone is a word that we're familiar with. It's just that phoneme is one that we're not really familiar with. So phoneme is referring to sound, and we can see in the green box, a phoneme is the smallest unit of sound in a spoken language. And each spoken language has its own set of phonemes that are used to convey meaning. So it's interesting, you might like to go on the internet and search and see, do different languages have different numbers of phonemes? And in fact, yes, they do. What's the difference then between a phoneme that we refer to as a consonant, and we have 24 phonemes in English that are consonants, and what's the difference between that and a phoneme that is a vowel, and we have 20 phonemes that are vowels in English? So we also covered this on the video. So just to summarize, it's the idea that for consonants, something interrupts the flow of air, the articulators, the tongue, the teeth, and the lips. They move in precise ways to affect that air coming out. So as we get the mirror in a minute and go through our phonemes, you'll be able to think about which articulators you're using. Whereas with the vowels, we change the size of the passage of air, but we don't actually connect with the teeth or the tongue or the lips. And so vowel sounds, they need to use the voice, and they have the air flowing through the mouth only. And down the side here, we've got the consonants listed and the vowels listed. And the first little thing we're going to look at is, I've used some symbols here. I've used for the TH, which is voiceless, I've used a theta, and it's going to be for. And for the TH that's voiced, I've used this little symbol that looks a bit like a backwards 6 with a cross. And then for sh, that's voiceless, well, we know to write SH for that, sh. But what about the sound zh, like in measure or genre? We don't really have a way of writing that as a symbol. We could put ZH, you may or may not have seen that before, to represent zh, but I've actually got the phonetic symbol, zh. So let's have a go at an activity. And what I'd like you to do is, if you just have a piece of paper or on the back of something just blank, because that it's fine wherever you write it, it's just a little practice. I'm going to bring up the whiteboard. Here we go. So let's have a look at what that would look like if we were to do the TH that's voiceless. So here's our TH, like in thick. So it's voiceless. And if we were to have a go now at drawing that, it's going to look like this. So kind of like an egg shape and a line through it. So do you want to have a go doing that? And then if I wanted to write a word like thick to show that it's a voiceless sound at the start, I could have, and then I just use my normal letters, thick. And now I know that that's saying voiceless. Let's have a look at if it's voiced, like as in them. Now it's voiced. So a lot of people have never really thought about the fact that can be voiceless, like in thick and thank you, And it can be voiced, like in them and they. So to do this one, I recommend you practice it like me. First of all, I want you to just do a normal 6. Can you just write that? Normal 6. Now do a mirror image of your 6. And then you put a little line through it. And that one's going to be the voiced. So now I can do this word, and I've got them. And this is important because what if you're trying to write down a word that someone said? You want to try and remember whether they used voiceless or voiced. I'm going to hold the mirror and I'm going to do those 2 sounds. So here's my voiceless TH. Can you see it? See the little bubbles of saliva just under my teeth? That's the air coming through. And my articulators, which articulators am I using? My teeth and my tongue. And my lips are sort of out of the way. Now let's do the voiced one, looking in the mirror. I can feel it now. You want to try that and feel the vibration? I'll go back to the voiceless. I can't feel anything there. And back to voiced. Now have a look at the voiced. Can you see the little bubbles of saliva? Now I'll do the contrast of the voiceless and the voiced. Can you see that this bit's not changing? It's just the voicing that's changing. Them. Thick. Them. It's interesting, isn't it? I'll share that screen again now and we'll do the zh. So now I'm going to type the zh like in genre. It's a voiced sound. So to do the zh sound, it's like doing a Z and then the bottom of a 3. Do that again. So now for genre, I'd put zh, and then I can use the other letters that we have. Genre. Genre. Do you want to have a go writing all 3 of those? Let's have one more go. Let's write our voiceless TH, our voiced TH like a backward 6, and our zh. So these are the 3 consonant symbols that I'd like you to learn for topic 1. Okay, let's have a look at the booklet again. And we can see the explanation down the bottom here. We've got voiceless, voiced, and voiced. Zh. So let's have a look at section A, where we're referring to these 44 phonemes in spoken English. I've just restated there that speaking is something that is done automatically without the need for thinking about how we make speech sounds. And we say a variety of sounds in quick succession without counting how many different sounds the mouth is producing. For that reason, most people are not aware that the spoken English language has 44 different speech sounds. So, did you know that when I'm speaking, I'm actually moving my articulators approximately 16 times per second? Isn't that incredible? So we're doing tongue, teeth, lips, voice on, off, and in all sorts of sequences. Down to the 3rd paragraph, For people working in the field of speech pronunciation, like a speech pathologist, or like yourself, if you're helping children and you're listening out for speech sounds, we need to analyse how the mouth is making each of those distinct speech sounds. How are we making each of those 44 phonemes? And so we need a system to categorise the 44 phonemes. Let's have a look at section B. How do we categorise phonemes? To categorise phonemes, we can start by splitting them into two groups, consonants and vowels. Well, we've done that one. That's pretty easy. But what about subcategories for consonants? Consonants can be categorised according to where the sound is made in the mouth, how the articulators modify the airflow, and whether there is voice or no voice. So to say that another way, we can categorise our consonants using the words place, manner, and voice. Place, manner, voice. Let's do it one more time. Place, manner, voice. These are the characteristics of the 24 consonants that we need to feel comfortable with. The place we did on the video. Do you remember what we looked at? We looked at front, middle, and back. So we've actually already covered place. We also have been talking about voice, haven't we, on the video and just before, where we talked about voiceless and voiced. We're going to look at manner. What's another way of saying manner? The way something is done. So we're going to look at the way the sounds are made. We've already looked at where, like B is on the lips, where, and we've looked at if they're voiced or not, voiceless, zh, voiced. But now we want to look at what we're doing with our articulators, the manner. We're going to go back to the handout and we're just going to consolidate our concept of place, and we're going to consolidate our understanding of voice, and then we're going to go into more depth for manner. So here we are again on page 2 of the topic booklet. So let's have a look at our front of mouth sounds. We're looking at the place. If you remember from the video, we went through these categories. We had w, p, b, and and they were our front sounds made with both the lips. What I want to draw your attention to now is the fact that those sounds are not just at the start of words, but they can also be in the middle of words. So w can be at the start in win, and it can be in the middle in tow. But we don't have w on the end of words. That phoneme doesn't appear on the end of words in spoken English. If we come to p, we have p at the start in pig. We can have p in the middle, like in happy, and we use two P's to write it, but we don't say it twice. It's just a spelling convention. And we can have p on the end, tap. The at the start, by in the middle, about on the end, cob. At the start, me in the middle, comet on the end, him. So what I'd like you to do now, just moving that up so we can see that, I want you to pick up your mirror and we're going to do those sounds and think about if we can see the place, and we'll think about the voicing as well. So I'm going to hold up my mirror and I'm going to say w, and I can see it's at the front of my mouth. W, I can feel it's voiced. I'm going to do win and tower. Now I'm going to do p. You can see my lips. P, there's no voice. P, you can see it's at the front. P, no voice. And I'm going to do it in pig. Pig in happy. Happy. and in tap, tap. Now, but, by. I can see that p and b are both at the same spot, but the difference is the voicing. P, b, p, b. Can you try doing it? And what I want you to do is just go p and b and see that your position doesn't change at all, just the voicing. P, b. It's interesting, isn't it? Let's do b at the start of words, in the middle, and at the end. By, about, cob. And the last one in this top section is the Can see the articulators being used. It's my lips. I can feel that there's vibration, so it's voiced. And then in the words, me, comet, him. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just put this on pause, and you can go down and continue. Can you have a go with your mirror if you prefer, or you don't have to, and doing like, and thinking about which articulators. Now it's a lip and a teeth. And then do fun, offer, roof, and then that's teeth and lip too, but now it's voiced. Van, over, 5. And just start working your way down until you've done all of those sounds, and just be thinking about what you can see and what you can hear, what you can feel in your voice. Once you've made it all the way down, this whole list, the front of mouth, the middle of mouth, and the back of mouth, so the 24 consonants, then start this video up again, and then we're going to look at the manner. Okay, how did you go? You're getting a feeling of where in the mouth, the placement of the consonants, and whether there's voice or voiceless, and which sounds you could compare as having similarities. Well, let's have a look now at the manner. So now we're looking at page 3 of the booklet, and we have manner and voicing, because we want to be continuing to look at the voicing as we look at the manner, so that again, we're starting to see some similarities and some differences. So phonemes can be categorized according to the manner in which they are produced. Manner refers to the way the air flows through the oral or nasal passage to produce the distinct sound of each phoneme. We're actually going to look at 6 categories of manner. And if we have a look on the right-hand side of the page, and I'm just going to circle it with my cursor, we have the plosives, the nasals, the glides, the fricatives, the affricates, and the liquids. Now, sometimes affricates might be written as affricatives. So I've written over here affricates, and here I've written affricatives, just because both terms are sometimes used. But affricates is the most common term. Before we go and read those in more detail, let's go to our whiteboard, or you go to your just blank piece of paper, and let's see if we can write those 6 categories and practice their pronunciation. So what did we have first? We had the plosives, then nasals, then glides, fricatives, affricates, liquids. Isn't that an interesting group of words? Some of you that have had a bit to do with speech pathology might go, oh, I've heard those words, or I've seen them in reports. I've wondered what they are. So we're going to learn those names really well. And then we're learning terminology that speech pathologists learn and use. And this gives us a way to really be able to relate to speech pathologists and to understand their reports and to show that we have some knowledge. And this is what I think is important, is to understand some categories of sounds. It's something that a lot of us can benefit from understanding. So let's have a think about our plosives. Plosives consist of air that is stopped by the articulators. So by stopped, what I mean is if this is some teeth and the air's rushing, it gets stopped by the teeth. Or if it's the lips, the air's rushing and it gets stopped. Or it can even get stopped by the tongue. So the air gets stopped and it can't get out the mouth, so the pressure builds up. And then eventually the air is released in an explosive manner, felt as a puff of air. So that's where we get the word plosive. It's short for explosive. And plosives are short sounds that cannot be extended. The plosives can be voiceless or voiced. So if you've got a tissue, what's that explosion like? I'm going to do a p sound. Now I'm going to do it into my hand. Can you try doing it into your hand? Go to say, but don't release it, and feel the pressure building up. And then let it out. So that's a plosive. You can't extend the p. So you can just keep making that go and go and go. You can make that go and go and go. But you can't. It's just ready and it's done. Try that on your hand. Feel a lot of air. B, only a tiny bit of air. So plosives can be voiceless or voiced. When it's the voiceless, it actually gets like an aspiration, a pff, like lots of air coming out. So the only difference between p and b is the voice and this aspiration, or this puff. So we can feel a big puff for p and a little puff for b. Other plosives, t and d, k and g. And can you see we've got them voiceless and voiced? And now let's go across and look at the pairs. Let's look at p and b, or the p and the b. P, b, p, b. And the next row, t, d. And the last row, k, g. It's important we don't say p and t and k, because then we're putting a voiced vowel sound afterwards. It's got to just be completely voiceless. P. And I'll do it one more time, going across to show the contrast. P, b, t, d, k, g. So isn't that interesting? Our next category are the nasals. Nasals have airflow that resonates in the oral and the nasal cavities. The air exits as a steady, gentle flow through the nasal passage. Nasals are able to be extended as long, resonating sounds, and nasals are always voiced. So, my lips are making the air have to come out some way. They can't come out my mouth, they're going to come out my nose. The N, my teeth are stopping the air coming out the oral passage. And NG, like in sing, it's my back of my tongue stopping it. It's not coming out my mouth, it's coming out my nose. They're the nasals. Our next category, glides. Again, they're both voiced, so we don't have two columns. and it's our w and y. Glides are easy sounds to make generally. They have a short and gentle flow of air over the tongue. We still use our articulators, the lips and the tongue, to form a narrow passage for the air. So it's not a vowel because we are using the articulators, but actually it's kind of like a vowel because it's gentle. So it's almost cross between a consonant and a vowel, which is interesting, isn't it? But they're called our glides, and they're fairly short sounds that are not really able to be extended. It'd be a bit tricky to extend them, but they're always voiced. So we've got w and y. Could we extend a w? What would it be like? W. Not really. It's sort of, you can get the w, but then it has to kind of finish. And yeah, you can sort of extend the y bit, like if we're going to say yes, yes. But once we start to go yeah, then it actually has to stop. So w and yeah, there are glides. The next one are the fricatives. And this is where we start to get into some quite tricky sounds, and the sounds that 2-year-olds often don't have and 3-year-olds are just developing. These are the sounds that often have to be worked on in therapy. Fricatives have a turbulent flow of air. Think about turbulence. If you're in a plane and there's turbulence, wings might be shaking. So turbulent, powerful, bumpy, moving. Turbulent flow of air due to the breath having to squeeze through a narrow gap. Air flowing under friction causes a characteristic hissing or rushing sound. So fricatives might be referred to as flowing air sounds that hiss or rush. Fricatives are long sounds that can be easily extended, and they can be voiceless or voiced. So that means they occur in pairs. Our voiceless fricatives, we've got sh and our voiced fricatives are v, v, z, z. Now we can think about those in pairs. So I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to get my mirror up. And here's my first pair. Voiceless, voiced. So the place isn't changing. The manner isn't changing. They're both fricatives. It's just the voice that's changing. Let's look at that fricative. Can you see air rushing under the teeth and over the lip? Can you feel it? You can feel it. Let's do the next pair, the voiced and voiceless TH. Can you see the manner? The fricative. The air's rushing through that little gap and over the tongue, and even the lips are quivering a bit. Then we're going to move to S. Where's the air rushing now? Just between the teeth. S and Z. If you have a close look, can you see the little bits of saliva being carried along by the turbulence? It's almost like a gas leak, isn't it? Almost creates little bubbles. And then we come back a little bit to shh. Shh. The air's rushing through the teeth and over the tongue, and the lips are helping to form the shape. Almost creates little bubbles. And then we come back a little bit to shh. Shh. The air's rushing through the teeth and over the tongue, and the lips are helping to form the shape. Shh. And zh. And then the last one doesn't have a pair, but that's down in our larynx. Our larynx and our pharynx are squeezing together and causing a small spot for the air to flow through. Can you feel it tighten a bit there? narrowing the airway to cause the frication or the friction. When we come to our affricates or our affricatives, it's actually a combination of a plosive and a fricative. So we've got voiceless ch and voiced j. I'm going to use the whiteboard to show you what I mean. So a plosive has that build up, doesn't it? That build up and then the explosion. And the fricative has the long flowing air under friction. So when we do ch, it actually equals the plosive t and the fricative sh. They're both voiceless, aren't they? So ch is voiceless. What does that mean? It's a t and a sh. We have a build up with the t and explode it into the fricative. Have a watch. T, sh, sh. But now instead of going t into the sort of silent I'm going to open up into the sh, ch, ch, ch. I'll come in really close. Ch, ch. See it from the side? Ch, ch. So a ch is a t and a sh together. Can you make it a few times and see if you can feel that? Feel the pressure building for the plosive and then release onto the sh. Ch, ch. Try showing what your mouth is doing with your hand, like this. Ch, ch. That's how I teach that sound. So what's it going to be for the voiced part of that, the voiced pair? So for j, it's going to be j equals the voiced pair for t, which is d, and the voiced pair for sh, which is zh, d, zh. Okay, shall we see? D, zh, d, zh. Now, instead of going d, opening up to I'm going to open to zh, d, zh. Ready? J, 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 j. Can you try that? J. Now try the two with your mirror, voiceless and voiced. Ch, j, ch, j. So how do you think a speech pathologist would write j? A speech pathologist would write j like this. J. I wonder if you've ever seen that before in a report or on the internet. J. Interesting, isn't it? I love this stuff. Okay, that was the affricates. And the last ones are the liquids. Liquids have a gentle flow of air through the mouth. The tongue tip is elevated. The air leaves the mouth from the center or the sides of the mouth. Liquids can easily be extended, and liquids are always voiced. So liquids and glides kind of both can be thought of as almost a bit like a vowel, but still a consonant, because the articulators approximate and come in and they're gentle. They're not harsh like the affricates and the fricatives and the plosives. They're gentle. Let's have a look at our liquids. So it says they have a gentle flow of air through the mouth. The tongue tip is elevated and the air leaves the mouth from the center or the sides of the mouth. So for liquids, it's the lateral or the side. So L is the lateral liquid. L. My tongue tip's elevated. I can extend the sound and the air is coming out the side. L, I can just feel that, but it's very gentle. Now for my tongue tip is elevated, but I can't see it because my teeth are a bit more closed. But I can feel the tongue tips up. But now the air isn't coming out the sides, it's coming up and over the tongue because there's a little gap behind the teeth. Can you feel that? I can't really feel air at the side, it's more in the middle. Side, middle, but very gentle. And they are really hard sounds to make. You might have recognized that as we've come down these manners, the plosives can be hard because they're harsh and exploded. Nasals tend to be easy sounds. Glides tend to be easy. The fricatives get harder. The affricates are hard. And the liquids are hard. So a lot of children need help with l and Okay. So if we just review again our place, consonants can be in the front part of the mouth, the middle part of the mouth, or the back. Eight front sounds. Shall we say them together? The phonemes. W, p, b, m, v, v. Did you get the voiceless and the voice, T8? The middle sounds, there's 12. T, d, l, n, s, z, sh, j, ch, j, y. And the back sounds, there's 4. K, g, and right down low. I'm calling that a back sound because it's sort of back and down. We'll do the back sounds again. K, g, We're going to do one of our written activities now. Which sounds are made with both lips together? So there are 4 sounds made with both the lips together, and we know that because there's 4 boxes. So in a moment you can stop this and you can work this out for yourself. And I'll just help you with the first one, just so that you understand the task. W is made with both lips together. So I'm going to put a w in here. Get the idea? All right, stop the video and fill in all of your little boxes, and then we'll come back and have a look at what it looks like. So here's our answers for the front sound. Did you get this? W, p, b, and v. And then I don't mind if you've written the new little symbols or just the letters. F and v. How did you go? Okay, how did you go with the middle sounds? Doesn't matter if your order is not the same as mine. It can be any order. Did you get made with tip of tongue on ridge behind top teeth? S, z, n, l, t, d. And could you feel that your tongue was more or less in the same position, but you were just changing the manner? And made with tip or middle of tongue in middle section of mouth. Sh, j, y, ch, j. Could you feel that it's still the middle of the mouth, but it's just a little bit further back than the top row there? So make it s and then make it sh. Go between the two. S, sh, sh. Can you feel just, you're still in the middle of the mouth, but the tongue's just moving back a little bit? S, sh, sh. So we're getting a real feel for in the middle, there's multiple places. It's all classified as the middle. If you look at the picture, The first lot are on the tongue tip is here behind the teeth. And with the second row, it's more this middle part of the tongue sort of coming up or being moved. This little red line here is called the alveolar ridge. And you can feel that as like a little bony, sort of bumpy area behind your top teeth. And we talk about that being the spot. We tell children when they're making s, put your tongue tip on the spot. Or making a t, t. And we'll refer to that again in the future, the alveolar ridge. And now let's look at our back sounds. Did you get k, g, and if we have a look, these back sounds, they're made by the back of the tongue here. It bunches, and it's sort of, that's the shape that it would make when it moved up. And the soft palate is going to sort of be there for the tongue to come against. Now this white bit up here is bone. That's the hard palate. And we can see that by now it's just pink because it's just soft tissue or the soft palate. And this little thing here that dangles down, that's the uvula. You know, when you look in someone's mouth and you look back and you see that little thing dangling, that's the uvula. So the tongue bunches back here just above the uvula, and for it would seal there, so the air has to go up through the nose. The h is down in the larynx. How did you go with that activity page? Starting to get an idea of what articulators are making the sounds and where they're made? So now we're looking at page 6 of the booklet, and this is something that you might like to print off, even in colour, and to make like a little poster. You're very welcome to do that and to put it up somewhere just to remind you. And basically what this is doing is it's showing our characteristics of phonemes and how they all sort of interlink to make different sounds. So we can think of each phoneme that's a consonant. Each phoneme has a place, which we represent with red, a manner, which we represent with blue, and a voice quality, which we represent with green. And we're going to look at a chart in a minute where we can now go for each of the 24 consonants. What is the place? What is the manner? And what is the voicing? And speech pathologists think this way. We're constantly thinking of the characteristics of phonemes so that if somebody makes a speech error, we can work out, is it the place that's the error? Is it the manner that's the error? Or is it the voice that's the error? So we need to know these characteristics for the sounds when they're articulated correctly, so we're ready to analyse the errors. What I've done there is said, let's call front sounds just a capital F, middle sounds a capital M, back sounds a capital B, voiceless, the O, voiceless, and V for voiced. And then with our manners, I've done like a 3-letter just abbreviation or shortening. So plosives, plo, nasals, nase, glides, gly, fricatives, frit, affricates, aff, and liquids, lick. Page 7 is now a summary of that, where we actually can look at each phoneme and we can see the characteristics. Let's have a look at the 8 front phonemes, and I'm going to put a star as we go. W. We can see it's a front phoneme, it's a glide, and it's voiced. You getting the idea? P is a front phoneme, it's a plosive, and it's voiceless. But it's a front phoneme, it's a plosive, and it's voiced. So p and b, same placement, same manner, different voicing. Let's look at it's a front sound, it's a nasal, and it's voiced. It's a front sound, it's a fricative, and it's voiceless. It's a front sound, it's a fricative, and it's voiced. So f and v, same place, same manner, different voicing. It's a front phoneme, it's a fricative, and it's voiceless. It's a front phoneme, it's a fricative, and it's voiced. So th and v, same place, same manner, different voicing. Now let's look at the chart as a whole and look at other ways we can compare the sounds and contrast the sounds. What if I said a p sound, front, plosive, voiceless, and a t sound? T, middle, plosive, voiceless. What things are the same with a p and a t? They're both plosives, they're both voiceless. But what's different? The place. P is front, t is middle. Now let's look at d. D is a middle sound, a plosive, and a voiced. And we'll look at k. K is a back sound, a plosive, and a voiceless. We know that children change k to d, like the child who would say, let's write on the side here, instead of car, they say da. Can you see they've changed the k to a d? So when a child does that, what are they actually doing? So the child that's saying car for da, what are they doing with place? They're doing the back k and moving it to a middle position. And what are they doing with voicing? They're taking a voiceless sound and moving it to a voiced sound. And what are they doing with manner? Plosive, plosive. Nothing. The plosive is right. So this is why children change k to d. They want to keep a plosive, and they do. They keep the right manner, but they change the position to further forward in the mouth, which is easier. And they change from voiceless to voiced, which is easier. So this table gives us a way to look at how are phonemes the same and how are phonemes different, and that enables us to analyse speech errors. So in topic 1, we just want to be looking at not the errors, but just the phonemes themselves and how we can compare them and contrast them. Okay, so let's have a look at our last written activity to do, and it's going to be on page 8. Fill in 3 boxes for each phoneme. Has been completed as an example. Once you have completed the 24 consonants, tally the number of consonants in each column and write the totals at the bottom. Self-check your answers by referring to the previous page, page 7. So I would encourage you to do this without going back to page 7 and have a go. This could take you a little while, so you can stop the video and have a little go at this. Let's do one together just to practice. So if we have Let's do v together. So we're going to do that. V is a front sound. That v is a fricative. And v is voiced. And we'll do one more. I'll come down to zh is a middle sound. Zh is a fricative. And zh is voiced. Okay, so you're going to go and fill in for each one. So don't forget to fill in this bottom section. Here we've got a 3, meaning there are 3 manners that are nasals. But you're going to have how many front sounds, middle sounds, back sounds, how many plosives, nasals, glides, fricatives, affricates, liquids, how many voiceless sounds and how many voiced. Okay, have a go doing that activity and we'll come back and have a look. So are you getting a feel now for sounds that are at the front, the middle or the back? Are you getting a feel for the way in which sounds are made, the manner? And what about a feel for whether sounds are voiced or voiceless? We've been right through the topic 1 booklet, so let's have a look at what comes next. On Moodle, you'll see there are a couple of extra resources for each topic or supplementary resources. So here's one, quick tips for speech sounds in the classroom. This is a program that I often hand out to school assistants or class teachers or even parents to take into the school. And it's just giving little tips on how to help with each sound. But what I want you to have a look at now is if we go to the next page and we look at the S sound, I want you to be able to think about, just by doing this articulation course and having done topic 1, you can now look at something like this, a speech program or ideas for helping children with sounds, and you'll be able to think in ways that other people can't because they haven't got the new knowledge that you've got. So here's an example of lisping on the S sound. And children in kindergarten or their first year of school might say fun for sun. Now you'll be able to go, oh, they're saying that front sound instead of that middle sound. But it's still a fricative. And they've still got voiceless. They've just got the position wrong. Okay, so I'm going to be helping the child to get their tongue in the right place. Can you see how you're able to think just at that next level? And then it's got some of the ideas of what you do. You tell the child to keep their teeth together, keep their teeth closed, keep their tongue behind their teeth. You're trying to get the child to put the tongue on the alveolar ridge. Let's see what else is in this program. Let's look at the 4th one. This child is saying instead of shh. So what are they doing? Well, the place, they're both middle sounds, but remember shh was a little bit further back in the middle section, wasn't it? But are they both voiceless sounds? Shh. Yep, they're not changing the voicing. Are they both fricatives? Shh. Yes. So this child is just having difficulty with the placement of the tongue. And when you're trying to help the child, it says, stick your lips out like a fish, curl your tongue back in your mouth. Practice changing from s to sh. Sh. Can you see now you're imagining things going on in the mouth and with the articulators that you wouldn't have been able to do before. So you're going to be so much better at implementing this program. And finally, let's have a look at this one. The child that says tup or cup. They're changing k to t. Are they both voiceless sounds? K, t. Are they both plosives? K, t. Yes. Again, it's the position. K, t. They're moving from a back sound k, to a middle sound. T. So this is something you could now have a look through. You can print it off if you want, and you can just be thinking about the sorts of things you might do when you're helping a child, and see if you're now thinking of some different ideas. Here's g going forwards to d. Now we've got one where the manner changes. Let's look at bish instead of fish. B, front of mouth, f, front of mouth. They've got the placement right. B, plosive, f, fricative. They've changed the manner. B, voiced, voiceless. They've changed the voicing. So now it says here, things that you can try is show the child how to bite their lip gently and say, you're trying to teach a manner, a long flowing sound, because they've got a build up and an explosion. And you're trying to teach a long flowing manner. You also know that they're using their voice, and you're trying to teach the whispery. So that's one of your supplementary items, which you'll be able to open now in Moodle and download and use on your screen, or download and print if you want to. We're looking at another supplementary item now. This isn't something that I've made up. So this is a link for you to download, because the person that's made this, Alison Clark, speech pathologist, she's written that all images are in the public domain, and this is actually a free resource, and it's from her website, Spelphabet. So this is a lovely thing to have. And look, it shows that there are 44 sounds in English. So you might like to download this and have a look through. And she's actually gone through and she's talked about the stops or the plosives. So stops is another word for plosives. She's talked about the friction sounds, fricatives, the semi-vowels, and then she's gone into short and long vowels, which we'll do in topic 2. So here she's gone through and shown that pot, which is our p phoneme, could be p, written as a P, could be written as double P, PE, troop, bag with the B. And she's actually gone through and had a looked at all the different spellings. So I think you'll find this to be a really great resource now. And I'll leave you to go through and have a look at that one. So here's our topic 1 answers, and you'll now be able to unlock this from Moodle because you've done the tutorial, and you'll see you'll be able to go through as a self-checking tool, get your worksheet and come through and find the answers. You don't have to send it in to me. The purpose of the answer sheet is so that you self-check and get some feedback as to how you're going and understanding. So here's the quiz. So now you're going to be ready to take the quiz, and this one you will need to scan or take a photo and email in to me, and I'm going to see how you're going. If you get it 100% right, I'll send you your certificate for topic 1. If you have some errors, which is fine on your first attempt, I will send this back showing you the ones that need to be re-looked at, and you can submit it 3 times in order to get your certificate. Let's have a look at what it's asking. Complete the questions below following the examples for p and b and ch and m. So contrasted phonemes, so difference. P and b differ by voice. That's all. The manner is the same, so we won't write manner. The place is the same, so we won't write place. Ch and what do they differ by? Place. Well, ch is in the middle of the mouth and is in the front, so they differ by place. Ch is an affricate and is a nasal, so they differ by manner. Ch is voiceless and so they differ by voice. So now you're going to use your chart to go and work out s and b. What do they differ by? And write each one. Table 2, now you're going to look for similarities. So p and b, What's the same? The place is the same, both front sounds. The manner's the same, both plosives. Voicing's not the same. One's voiced and one's voiceless, so don't write voice. S and f, both fricatives, both voiceless. You get the idea? So have a go at your quiz and get ready to send that in to me, and I look forward to receiving it from you. And don't forget to go through Moodle and tick the little boxes, which will show what you're doing and will unlock each of the steps for you to go forward. And then it'll be time to go on to topic 2. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial and that you've learned a lot about the articulators, the lips, the teeth, and the tongue, and the larynx, and you've learned about the characteristics of our consonants, the place, the manner, and the voice. See you in topic 2.